Oh, the biggest patch I've seen for Bannerlord in a long time. And it might be one of the best patches I've seen in a long time. Beta branch version 1.7.0 for Bannerlord has just come out, and it popped the top off of everything. The sieges, the combat, the way the actual UI works in combat, giving orders, the morale system, it's all been overhauled, improved, or added into the game. The new terrain battle system. So let's do what we usually do. Let's go through these patch notes, but what we're going to do up front, like I typically do, is talk about the kind of spark notes, the quick down and dirty, just summary of what these patch notes include. So this way you can just listen to that, and then that's all you wanted to know. You can go ahead and head out. So let me go ahead and give you guys that information here. So this is the largest patch I've seen in quite some time for Bannerlord, and it is the last patch of the year, more than likely, barring some sort of hot fixes and stuff like that that'll probably crop up from 1.7.0, maybe breaking economies and stuff like that. It always kind of seems to happen in the initial portions of a beta patch, so be mindful of that. But let's give you those spark notes here, that summary. So for starters, siege towers, ladders, rams, all of it, it's been fixed. It's so much better now. It's so much more fluid because on top of that, siege defense in AI has drastically improved, meaning they'll defend proper portions of the wall, better pathfinding. A lot of really amazing siege fixes have happened. And a lot of these things that were present in mods didn't actually fix the issue. They kind of put a band-aid over it. So this patch will actually fix that from the ground up, which is awesome. So a new morale system that actually takes into account ally deaths and what have you has been added, or at least fixed and kind of brought up to par, and a new UI to accompany it, which we'll show that as well. Battle terrain system has finally arrived. So what I mean by that is getting in a fight by, say, a bridge will actually cause a bridge battle. Getting in a fight next to, say, a mountain range sloping down into the water will actually have that reflected on the battle map. So a really, really awesome battle terrain improvement that has been teased at for almost half a year now is finally added into the game. Blacksmithing weapons should no longer sell for exorbitant amounts of gold, so that's been brought in line, and it will work on a different basis from now on. So it won't be just kind of disgustingly broken where you can sell a Romphalia for 8 million gold and break the game. So that's been curtailed back, whatever I'm trying to say. But new in-scene markers for when you're in towns and cities. It's just a much cleaner UI that doesn't overlap. We'll show that off in just a little bit, but it looks really good. A new pre-battle setup, which is called the Order of Battle system, where you can configure your troops and give commands before the battle starts. You can break things into different formations. You can assign captains, all of that, and then it saves. So once you do it once, it saves for the next battle, and then you can kind of tweak things from there. You can also do it for larger armies if you happen to be the leader. It's a lot of really great customization before the battle even starts. Now, in addition to that, there's a new option that you can turn on or off that allows you to reduce the game speed to 75% while you're issuing commands. This allows you to do things on the fly without kind of running the risk of slamming into a tree and getting killed or running headlong into the enemy army. It's a very nice little system. Also, there are UI improvements to the save screen as well as the campaign map. You'll see stuff like party's movement speed and so on and so forth. We'll show all that off in just a little bit. Horse armor has a much bigger effect on horse speed now than it did in the previous patch when that was added in. So if you are using very heavy barding on your horse, expect your horse to go much slower. You're not going to be playing the game now where you have the heaviest armor on your horse to give it the most protection, and your horse is still just like got wheels on it at breakneck speeds. It's a 4-second car, Brian, from Fast and Furious. It's not going to happen anymore. Also, there's UI improvements to the actual battle map. We'll show that off in a bit too. But basically, the little cards and everything look a lot cleaner, a lot nicer. Tons of optimization has been done to reduce a lot of those little hanging lag moments where you do a certain thing, the game hangs for a split second or two, and then it kind of goes to fruition. Those things have been fixed. A lot of it was just kind of sequential computation rather than just simultaneous, or essentially the way that the game looks at it is a little bit more of a multifaceted job versus just simply slam everything done at once. It just does it in a little bit better of a order of operations. 2 new Imperial armors were added. There is a option to hide battle UI. So this way it kind of hides the UI when you're in battle, gives it a little bit more of immersion. Also there, when you give the charge command, the music will ramp up, again, increasing that immersion. The charm skill tree was finally redone and added in. Everything now has 2 little benefits that it gives you, which we'll show off in a little bit as well. Lots of unit balancing, and then lastly, a slew of multiplayer improvements, including capture the flag overhaul and item customization has been brought into the game for multiplayer. So that is your 5.5 minute deep down, dirty breakdown, summary breakdown, patch notes summary for 1.7.0. I know that's usually a much shorter portion of the video, but there's so much added into this, and I wanted to get a lot of the big things done. The big question, as always, is should you test this? Abso-fucking-lutely. If there was a time you were waiting to create a brand new character or new campaign, it is now. You do not need to, though. This will work with all of your previous saves. I've been using it with the previous save to do some testing. I know that I'm eventually going to hit something that is broken. That always kind of happens when a beta branch first launches. Some sort of economy or something like that does break. Just kind of expect that to happen in these first initial days before they can hit us with a hot fix probably early next week for anything game breaking that does occur. But this is the time if you wanted to jump into Bannerlord. They've got the release, 2, 3, 4 months away. So this is kind of really ramping up to get us there. A lot of the big things that people are waiting for are stuff like banners and so on and so forth. So hopefully we'll see that before the launch. But those are your patch notes summary. For those that want to stick around and get involved in all the nitty gritty, let's go ahead and jump into that. But if you are heading out, please don't forget to comment, like, and or subscribe. I cannot tell you how much that does support the channel. As trite as it is to hear and as repetitive it is to hear, it is stupid how much that just battles the YouTube algorithm. So let's get started here on the beta patch notes for version 1.7.0. And they are dense, so we're going to move through them as fast as we can to get into a lot of the in-game stuff. So for performance, we have improved performance of morale computations, character creation, inventory. I don't know why I called it inventory. Some people call it inventory, but I watch a bunch of videos where they do, and I never understand it. It's in inventory for me. So character creation, inventory, and scoreboard, random number generation and its performance. So basically, like I was saying, that computation won't be jammed into one frame. It'll be spread out across multiple frames. That's how that works. And it's the same thing here with this one. So when you're trying to transfer, let's say you have all of your army, you press F6. Sometimes it'll shoot everything to a bunch of different formations, like taking your cavalry and breaking it into 2 separate formations. This will now be spread across multiple frames so the game won't lag or hit any kind of hangs, anything like that. A ton of additional optimizations for code relating to siege machines, formations, and formation AI, the general game performance, to the recruitment of Lord parties, spikes in the relation to war declaration, and to the mobile parties and settlement cached variables. Also, we have a memory leak that was fixed when loading a save game where the main character is in a faction. So if you've ever noticed that the more you start to play games, a specific save file, and you are in a faction and the game starts to lag over time, stuff like that has hopefully been fixed with that memory leak. Jumping into a save load, we get map info bar extended state is now tracked in-game save data. So what that means is when you look at the bottom of the save game, and we'll show this off, you'll see that little thing at the bottom of the campaign map that shows you party movement speed, health, the total amount of people in your party, prisoners, stuff like that. You'll see that at the bottom in the save game screen, which is really, really nice. Just kind of gives you an immediate kind of at a glance look if you have a bunch of saves for the same campaign. Oh, this is when I had only 80 soldiers. Okay, this is too far back. Okay, here's the one I wanted because it has 120 soldiers. So this is a really nice, really cool, quick contextual tip as to what specifically you are getting from that save game. Some localization changes and fixes as always. I am a pagan that only speaks English, so I do not know any of this stuff. But for art, we get 2 new armors, the Legionnaire armor with chainmail and Legionnaire armor with brass plates added in. Very cool looking little touches of Imperial armor. Added ballistic covers to various towns and castles. Makes it look really cool, like, oh, okay, like this at any time could be a place of war. Improved some materials and textures. I saw a really lovely little little waste bucket for washing clothes in a town, and it looked very high poly, is all I gotta say. For audio, we get music intensity now increases slightly when the charge order is given. Again, kind of creating that immersion, ramping those things up. And updated ambiances and keeps in taverns, a little bit it feels a little bit more at home, right? Increasing that immersion when you're jumping into those locations. For the UI, we get into some of the bigger, badder things here. So added the new mission name marker system. So when you jump into, say, a town or a city and you hold down Alt, it'll show you this is where the tavern is, the arena, this is where the clearing is, these are these prominent figures, these are where all the workshops are. And we'll show this off. When you hold down Alt now, it shows you just markers, and you have to center that marker into your screen, and it shows you the text of what it is and how far it is. It's a very clean looking UI, and it gives you actual colors corresponding to certain things. I think the tavern was yellow or something like that, and the places where you can fight bandits are red. So it has a lot more going for it, and you can kind of tell at a glance where things are. I like it a whole lot more. Another thing here is changing the custom battle. So this is only for custom battle, not for actual battle map in the campaign, but you can now make it so that you can simulate having reinforcements in your custom battles. Movement speed of a party is now visible on the top of the party next to its name for easier comparison. So when you're moving around the campaign map, if you hold down Alt, it'll say looters 12 and then that party's movement speed. So you no longer have to hover over it to figure it out. It's just there and Clear and Present Danger, that's a movie. It's just there and visible for you. Right now, it's kind of a little buggy in that the movement speed will clip and obstruct the name of the party if you're at a certain zoom. They've already confirmed on the forums that this has been fixed internally, and it will roll out to us eventually. So we'll see that update soon. Notables that support the player's clan are now shown in the clan screen income tab, so you can see where you're directly getting sponsored by. Added a continue button to the single player launcher tab, which loads the most recent save on the disk automatically. Just a nice way to skip all the way into the game. Added a new game option, hide battle UI, which disables the mission UI automatically for better immersion, like I was saying. Got a little thing here for braceable and couchable on units or items in which you craft, so you can quickly see which ones are. Added a tooltip line that shows owned caravans of a hero, noble or notable. This way it's just kind of easier to see who owns caravans, what they are, what you're harassing, so on and so forth. Tons of bug fixes, and as I always say, guys, if you are experiencing a specific bug in repetition, make sure you check through this whole entire portion to see if anything pops out. I always jump through here to quickly read of anything that's maybe, yeah, this is a really prominent bug that a lot of people were talking about. I didn't notice any, but I didn't really give it a fine-tooth combing. So make sure you kind of jump through this if you're experiencing a lot of bugs. Now for battles and sieges, we get a ton of changes here. So added the new battle terrain system. The spawn positions and the facing directions of the attacking and the defending side inside the field battle mission are now determined by the encounter position and direction on the campaign map. Added 23 new battle scenes for the more recognizable regions. This increases the total count to 72. And they said they're going to expand upon it as well. So that is juicy, and you'll immediately notice this when you jump into your first battle in the game, that it just already you're jumping into a whole different ballpark. I'm having a lot of weird word complications today, but I'm just going to roll with it because I think it's part of my charm. Now, moving on to the new battle order of battle system, we have a pre-deployment screen that we can really use to fine-tooth how we put down all of our units. So basically, a new deployment screen has been added, which appears before every battle mission if the player's side of the encounter has at least 20 troops, and the encounter is not a sally out while the player is attacking. So very cool there. Players can now divide their troops by troop types into different formations using percentage sliders, which is very nice. Before you kind of had to like tweak it and hope you got something. Players can give preference to shield, spear, throwing, and heavy troops in these formations with combinations of these filters. One or more filters can be enabled. So you can basically filter out how you're removing troops in and out of formations to make it so that you maybe only pull spear units into another one, or throwing units into another one, or heavy units into another one, which is very nice. Because like I said in the past, you were just moving everything from formation 1, which is typically your infantry, into whatever formation you're moving it, and it didn't matter. It was just an arbitrary number, and it would probably go in order of the party list. Parties can assign captains to these formations if they're the encounter leader. They can assign themselves to an empty formation if they're not the encounter leader. Players can give starting orders to these formations and place them before the battle starts. So which is cool is I can say, well, you know what? I definitely want to micromanage my horse archers and my cav, but I just don't want to touch my my infantry. So I can just press F6 on my infantry and they'll do their thing. And that's nice that you can just do it from that screen right out the gate. So values, sliders, filters set in the orders of battles are saved between encounters, which is so huge. And we've also improved the formation cards in the order UI. They now include an explicit number of troops with their types, ammo bar, and morale of the formation. We'll show that off, but it looks very, very clean. Improve the battle morale system. So now the battle morale system has always existed in the game. And I say new because it just feels new. So they've done a lot of things here, right? So range kills now provide morale to the killer's allies, just like melee kills. Fire ballistas now deal more morale damage. Morale damage from kills and fleeing agents has been adjusted for better gameplay. Agents will now slowly regain lost morale up to half of their initial morale in battle. So you're going to actually see people fleeing a lot more. You're going to see a lot better effect on morale from certain things. So expect that to come into your gameplay in a big way. Increase the effectiveness of starvation as a siege tactic. So basically now garrison parties they won't die out from starvation, but they'll just become wounded and they'll continue to consume food. But larger garrison forces will suffer more wounded troops due to starvation than smaller forces. Towns now show the food stored in their market to correctly indicate the amount of food left in the towns, giving you a better idea on when starvation will begin. So you can actually use this rather than sieging if you want and you're trying to really get a castle and you're early in the game, whatever it is, you can use starvation as an effective tactic now. Reworked the climbing of siege ladders and siege towers with ladders, which fixes issues such as not climbing, they swarming at the bottom, they push each other and get stuck into gaps between ladders, re-pathfinding by going back down the ladder and out the siege tower, then go back up the ladders again, AI agents having trouble climbing ladders, missing and walking past ladders and similar, and agents will now continue to raise the siege ladder even after taking damage. So you can see that this has been fixed in a much better way, right? You're not going to have like the musical chair of ladders where they kind of go up and down, down and up, down and up. They run around. It's way more as intended. Implemented various other siege mission improvements, and these are also very huge. So attackers can no longer flee while they're using ladders, siege towers, or when they are on the castle walls. They'll fight to the death. So you won't have an instance where they're fleeing and just getting butchered. They'll say, no, I'm doubling down. I'm already up here. Time to fight. Increase the threshold for transferring troops around the siege to reduce the small number of troops running from wall to wall too often. In some siege scenes, defenders weren't able to perceive enemy attack directions correctly and defend the correct walls. This would result in you going to attack that wall and there being no one there. Your army would go in and then would have a bunch of pathfinding issues. This has not been the case anymore. Added additional pointers and logic to siege scenes to help recognize attack directions correctly. Big breath. Improve the siege weapon reloading behavior of AI agents that selects which agent will conduct the reloading, and fixed a bug that caused defensive siege engines to appear in the siege mission that weren't built on the campaign map. Just a lot of nice stuff right here that caused arch formations to swap places in sieges continuously. They would just keep moving around and nothing would happen. So very nice. Also, we get these slow down while giving orders things. So this is going to slow down the game by 75% when you're giving orders, and players can now command allied units while the opposing team is retreating. So a lot of really amazing combat improvements there, especially to sieges as was needed. Reworked the charm skill tree. Most of the existing charm skill perks were replaced with new ones. Charm skill perks now also have secondary effects, which is quite lovely. For the clan and party, improve the algorithm that selects the companion's equipment after upgrading them to a noble. This way they won't come in like, oh, you just got a nice padded gambeson, and we're already really far into the game. It's a much better system now. Workshops are now inherited by their heir after the main hero dies, which is huge, so huge. Ton of bug fixes and stuff like that here for your clan and party as well. Some stuff for the armies, nothing too crazy here. I guess this one's actually kind of nice. Armies will now take their cohesion into account when deciding to start a new siege or raid. They won't do it if their cohesion is low. But for economy and trade, we get the two that are really going to affect crafting here. Reduce the overall item prices. Items with higher tiers are reduced more. Increase the selling trade penalty of high tier items progressively. The trading penalty when buying hasn't changed. So what that's saying is, if you go to sell a rump folio with the longest length, that kind of stuff, it's not going to sell for 4 million gold anymore. It's going to be a more progressive increase in item price versus just the drastic huge jump, right? Where it was on a exponential ramp. It should be hopefully logarithmic. We'll find out as time goes on, but that has been changed. And this was something that was recommended by my good friend Matt Ross, who helps me with a lot of my unit balancing or a lot of my like, hey, here's how I suggest to change this mechanic videos. He actually suggested this directly, saying, hey, Why isn't it logarithmic instead? This will make it so that all these high tier items aren't just rampantly high in price. They'll have a nice sweeping up ramp. So nice to see that brought into the game. Thank you, Matt Ross, for your suggestion. For quests and issues, added dragon banners and pieces to the sandbox mode, which can be acquired by completing these storyline quests, but they're not equipable just yet. So just kind of worth noting here. A number of quest changes for Deliver Herd, needs manual labors, Lady Lord needs a tutor, Villager needs grain seeds, revenue farming, disrupt supply lines, rescue your family, and then betting fraud, not frayed. So those little improvements have been made. For conversations and encounters, added the ability to create a new party or attach the companion to your own party via conversation after rescuing a companion during a battle. Previously, they would go, oh, okay, thanks for rescuing me. I'll go wait over here. So now you can just immediately take care of that right after you rescue them, which is quite nice. Also, beggars can talk to you more. Moving into other, we get a lot of unit balancing. So let's take a look at this here. Battanian Skirmisher, Veteran Skirmisher, and the Wildling now use an axe, a shield, and 2 sets of javelin, which is very nice. Gives them a lot more stability, and they've got more punching power with 2 sets of javelin. On the note of javelin, Battanian Oathsworn, which were given javelins 3 or 4 patches ago, no longer have javelins, but we'll get into this. The Aserai Mamluk no longer uses maces. Instead, they exclusively use iron scimitars. Now, I originally had put this in red, but I realized it's a tier 2 unit. I don't need my tier 2 units to punch hard into armor. I think having them have iron scimitars gives them more punching power. In fact, in the second tier, allows them to actually do some damage because it's a longer reach weapon, and I like it a lot more than a mace in the second tier. Third tier, I think, works for the Aserai Warrior, I think it is, or Aserai Footman, Foot Soldier. I'm okay with that. That way they can actually threaten against like tier 3, tier 4 things that have higher armor, so they can use those maces to a little bit better effect. Replace the helmets of the Battanian Skirmisher and Veteran Skirmisher with each other. The Skirmisher had a better helmet than the Vet Skirmisher. This has been swapped, which is nice. Now here's for that Oathsworn we talked about a little bit ago. Updated the Oathsworn weapon to now have a one-handed bearded axe, which is a much better axe than it had, and added the Highland throwing axe. So replace the javelins with throwing axes. You know, throwing axes are kind of in a weird place for me personally. I can never use them effectively, but the AI seems to always crush with them. So I guess it's okay, an okay change. Javelins are extremely long range. The throwing axe, not so much. So reduced the half scale and the scale barding's armor values from 240 from 76 for the half scale, and from 125 to 50 for the scale. And again, keep in mind, if you're using heavy barding on your horses, they're going to slow down a significant amount. Meaning if you double press W or double press forward movement, they're not going to rear up and go, I'm ready to go. I have 98 pounds of armor on me. I'm going to be running at top speed. No, they're going to take a little bit longer to now get to that top speed. This was a change that was made prior, but is way more evident now, I will say. Heavy quarrels now have 3 armor-piercing damage and are assigned to the Imperial Sergeant Crossbowmen, giving them much more punching power. And then light quarrels get +1 piercing damage and are assigned to the Imperial Crossbowmen. So Imperial Crossbowmen got better across the board. The Sturgian Archer had its athletics increased from 60 to 100, riding from 100 to 50, because that didn't make much sense, and crossbow from 15 to 25. Now, you're thinking, Sturgian Archer, why the hell doesn't it need crossbow? Well, the way the order of operations works for these ranged units is if they run out of arrows, they will search for a weapon to use. And if they have a high enough skill in a crossbow, they'll pick up a crossbow and use it. So it keeps them in their role, more or less. You know what I mean? Now, with the Sturgian elite units, the Variag, the Otroki, and the Variag Veteran, we have got some improvements to their athletics. It's kind of a weird wash, in my opinion. I put this in cyan because it doesn't really necessarily mean a whole ton. They've reduced their riding, which is good because they're not riding units, and increased their athletics, but really marginally, right? This is a 10 increase for the Variag, a double, so 20 increase for the Otroki, which is the very bottom one. And then the Variag, now actually the veteran Variag veteran, has more riding, less bow, less crossbow, and less throwing. So it's kind of a weird wash in my opinion, but they've had some improvements to the Sturgian elite noble units before. I still just think they need to choose one or the other, either be infantry or be cav, and if they're going to be one or the other, make them badass at that role. Is there a weight one? I thought I saw weight on here somewhere. No, never mind. Moving on. Now for multiplayer, item customization added around 40 new items, including some high tier battle crowns. They've changed the capture the flag system, doesn't affect the siege game mode at all. And then there's new player profiles for the UI, where you can see stuff like their clan, what badges they've got, so on and so forth. A little bit more of a cleaner multiplayer. Still can't wait for those private servers to come out, because that is going to be fucking huge. Now for both, we have added missing sounds for siege engines, updated the castle gate break sounds, and updated the siege boulder impacts. Things sound pretty brutal right now, and you're going to experience it when you jump in a lot of those sieges anyway, so it's going to be very fun for all of us. Now for combat, we get this one. Players are not able to zoom in using ballista, so you can really figure out where the hell you're shooting. But here's a really interesting one. Bastard weapons can now be used as one-handers by using the alternative switch toggle while they are in two-handed mode. They will switch between one-handed and two-handed mode automatically by wielding sheathing a shield. I thought that this was already in the game. In fact, I'm almost like 100% positive I've been doing it since the game first came out. When I got that special bastard sword you can get from the arena on my first Vlandian playthrough, like I was just switching back and forth. So maybe this applies to more weapons now and they're adding it in, but I always thought that this was a thing. Or maybe this now applies to AI who would never use it before. I'm not really sure. Maybe if you guys know in the comment section, let me know. I've asked the devs, and the one specific dev said it's already in the game that I know of. So again, all the devs are siloed out to very specific things, saying, hey, I work on this specific portion. So they're not all going to know what these patch notes mean. So take it all with a grain of salt. Let us move into now what this all looks like in the game. We're going to look at some stuff like the new UIs, the new save screen, stuff like that. We'll jump into all of it and then just kind of conclude things by showing off some other stuff here and there. So moving into the game, let's take a look at probably the biggest standout feature, right? The new battle terrain system. So what's going to happen is across the whole entire map, anywhere you jump into a fight, like say right here, you can see this like sloping hill down into this water. It's going to reflect that in the actual battle map. And we'll also take a look at a ton of other things when it comes to battle UI and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and press attack here. I'm going to jump on in, and you can see that the hills are over there and the water is over here. It's pretty much not a direct mirror, because there's going to be some generic portions of this map, but it is for the most part very indicative of where you are on the battle map. Now let's take a look here at the new pre-battle system, the order of battle system. And the way that this works now is, as you can see, I've got all my formations set up, and I can just kind of divvy them up as needed. So if I press 4, it'll take a look at my horse archers. I can just click them around. They'll do the thing. And I can press, F5 and they'll dismount. 4 again, or 5 and they'll mount up. And as soon as the game starts, they'll take that action. Or like I said, if I wanted to, I just don't want to worry about these guys, I'll press F6. And now they're on delegate. But got a lot of stuff you can do here. You can press transfer and you can move them across. You can use stuff like this to do it. So say, hey, you know what? Let's give preferences to troops with pole arms. Stuff like that. And you can do that over here as well, right? Say this is infantry, this is range, this is cav, horse archers, infantry and range, cav and horse archers. So you've got a lot of different ways you can do this. So let's say do that. And oops, let's go ahead and add, I just want my pole arms in this formation over here. So we can do this, and it's going to pull from my other infantry one. Maybe we want heavy armor only with no pole arms. Oh, heavy armor, pole arms, and thrown weapons. We'll just do all three. And it's going to pull from the other one over there. And maybe shields as well. Just, you can see how that kind of tweaks apart. Unfortunately, all my units are the same, so I don't have a ton of variance right there. But like I said, you can say if this is a mixed unit where it's got a ton of different units in it, like say people without pole arms period, without thrown weapons, I can pull just the thrown pole arm or thrown weapons into this group to have a nice thrown weapons group. Now, in addition, I can also press this button to assign a commander. And if I hover over these, I can see, well, okay, this guy's got a lot of one-handed. He's probably going to be great as a commander for my infantry units. Let's go ahead and do that. Well, what about my archers? Well, this huntress here, she's got 147 crossbow. She'll do just fine. Let's put her right there. Oh, my cav? Well, let's look at this guy here. The outcast. He's got 115 riding. That's probably pretty great. We'll put that there. So you've got the ability to kind of look at a glance what units go where by looking at their skills. I'm sorry, what captains go where by looking at their skills. Maybe we'll just put like, oh, the healer over here, and maybe I'll lead the horse archers. So you get all this stuff kind of set out for you. Then you just press ready and you're good to go, right? You're automatically in.
Everyone!
And you can take a look too. If I press 1, it shows me the new little battle cards and everything like that, where the captain is above all of them. The ammunition is represented as the bar below everything. So it's really cool to see this represented very quickly and easily in the game. Very nice. And you get an actual numerical value for their morale, right? Before you got just like a random little like thing. It was like, oh, here's these little morale birds. They're indicative of your morale. So as that drains, of course, that morale is going to go down. So let's go ahead and go full speed here, and it's going to take me some time. You can see I'm also wearing the new Imperial armor, which we'll show off in just a little bit. Now, I want to... I'm going full speed here. Enemies over here. Let's just get all up close and personal. Whoa, watch out for these bushes. I'm going to hit with a shrubbery right now. And, oh man, I need some help. Well, I can do this and press there, and they'll automatically start jumping into the fray for me like that. Like, I love this this slow battle system. Like, that is so clutch. It's going to be so necessary and so useful, because there's so many times where I've gone to give orders and this has happened. Just, all right, I'm trying to give an order and, oh, I did that. And I got killed because I ran into like a unit of 200, So you can see that these changes on the actual combat map are very good. The UI looks way cleaner, way more modern, a lot more concise, and I love that pre-battle order, pre-order of battle system. It is very, very nice. Let's jump over here to the inventory screen now. So with the inventory, we have got two new armors to show off here really quick. We have got this one, the Ornate Legionary Scale. This is the one with the brass plates on it. And then we have got the Decorated Legionary Mail. It just has the leather tassels here and there. So a tier 5 armor and a tier 5 armor. Not very expensive. You can see that price point has been reduced and adjusted as well. So things aren't exorbitantly priced. Even the stitched leather over mail, that used to be so expensive prior to this. It's only 11K now. So top tier armor is way more affordable. Even the Sultan's steel cap is only 21K. It used to be something like 45 or 150. I don't know, something stupidly high. So things have been brought in line. So it's easier to get access to top tier items. You can buy them a lot easier now. And it has a lower barrier of entry, I guess is a better way to put it. Jareed are only worth 6,100. I think they were worth like 50K before. So just to kind of give you perspective on how these top tier items have been priced out. If we can sort this by value, the highest price item is the Brigandine over mail, and that's 64K if we round it up. There were so many things higher than 64K before, so you can see how stuff has been really, really, really kind of toned down and brought in line. Let's jump over to some other features. Now for the campaign map, like I was saying, you can now get some better context clues just by simply holding down Alt. You can see the relative movement speed of everything across the map here. So moving around, you can see mine's at 4.2, this is at 5.9. I'll just never be able to catch them, stuff like that. So I wanted to show that off really quick. And if you notice, if we hold down Alt and kind of zoom out, things will kind of get messy, right? Stuff will kind of stack on top of it. This has been fixed internally, like they said in the forums, but we can hope to see this sometime soon as either a hot fix, maybe like a 7.1, but they did say that this has been fixed and we should expect to see that coming to the game. So to show off the new in-town scene, I jumped here into a tavern. You can hear that ambiance. Sounds really good. Got a little band playing, a little student alt-rock band. A little more ambience with the ambiance, with people talking and so on and so forth, but just wanted to quickly show this off before we jump over here and go out the door here to show off these new in-mission markers, as they're called by the dev team. Now, as you know before, you hold down a button and it shows you everything, right? We'll hold it down now. Now I don't get any text. I get these colored icons, and if I center them in my screen, oh, the dungeon is 140 meters away. Well, there goes the Lord's Hall. Well, here's Tiny Adelon, and he has a quest for me. And this quest is colored this color versus orange for a main story quest. So I can quickly just see them by looking around the map. Oh, well, there's the waterfront where I can go get into some tussles. Or the wool weavery, a velvet weavery. And what is that, the arena? Yes, arena. The tavern, obviously, out right next to it, and then the barber. Oh, there it is, and the tannery. So you can see that the workshops have a different color as well, easy to pop out. I love this. It's so easy to quickly see where everything is. Nothing's overlapping where I'm like, where the hell? I can't even read it. So easier to just kind of get a quick bead on where you want to go when you're in mission or in towns and settlements. So as you can see here, this is the new save screen as well. So you get a lot of information in the bottom. We get how much health, the total dinar we've got, the total amount of influence, how many soldiers, his food, and his holdings. So a really nice little quick breakdown. If I jump over to this character, this is the very initial one. So, oh, you know, this is too far back. Get the day, the level, that's always been there, but still. And this module screen is better. I'm afraid to click any one of these because they're from a certain test, and I don't want to crash this right now. But these will give you a better readout of the module screen and what's going and what's active in that specific save. I just wanted to quickly show that off here so you can quickly get an idea of what's going on before you go ahead and load in. Taking a look at the charm tree, we can see that it has been entirely redone. Now, if you see anything with a padlock on it, it does not mean that it is not active. It just simply means that the art for that icon has not been created. If something is not active, it will say it in the text. It'll say not implemented just yet. There won't even be like a reduce item barter penalty with the lords of the same culture with you by 25%. That'll just be there. If it's not active, it'll say this is currently not implemented. I don't think there's anything that says that from what I can remember, but we'll quickly look through it. No, I don't see anything right now. So the top one now, every 5 skills after 250 gives you 1 influence point per day, which is very nice for charm. But a lot of these are really good. I would definitely use charm a lot more now. It has a lot better of a balance on doing things outside of just simply talking to people, right? Gain 1 renown and influence for each issue solved. Every time you defeat an enemy lord party, you gain 1 relationship with a random notable of your faction. That's quite nice. Every time you defeat an, let's say it's duplicated here, but increase influence gain from battles by 30%, which is huge. So the charm tree is way better. It has been jacked, as they say. These 4 are the same still, so nothing new there. But even the tier 1, right? The tier 1 ones gain 5 influence by winning a tournament. So in the very early portions of the game, that is so huge because it helps you push through the influence tree quicker. Gain 1 morale in a besieged settlement, or 30% more likely to have children, and 10% chance to get 1 relation with a random notable in government settlement per day while continuous projects are active. Because you're virile. So a lot of really cool improvements here to the charm skill set, making it a lot better, a lot more viable for you outside of just simply playing around with people's relationship. You get a lot more stuff, and I like it a lot more. So here we are in a siege battle, just to close things out here, and kind of a cinematic little option I've chosen here, right? You can see everyone is using all of those ladders. If we jump over to the other one, they are using all the ladders properly. They didn't at first. 1 unit got on the ladder, and I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Is this not going to work? And it actually, they all started to climb up. What I will say is, and this is something that I've kind of made in a statement during one of my streams, is I would rather that this top platform got filled up before the ladder drops, the little ramp drops. And this is in a tier 2 city. So that actually changes things. So there's 1 person right here and it hasn't dropped. So maybe they've actually enhanced this, and in a tier 3 city, this would be a bigger siege tower. And in that case, maybe there needs to be, once all 3 units get up there, then it drops. So we'll find out right now once I jump out of photo mode. But you can see things are a lot more, at least concise. And there's going to be these units that are going to join this fray as soon as that ramp drops, because when I was over here, prior to starting recording, these units weren't here. They shifted over to kind of make their way because they destroyed the battering ram. So the AI realized, well, there's no real reason to stack up right here in front of this door like it usually does. So you can see that they're trying to disseminate these troops to other points of the wall that need defenders urgently. You can see that some are already starting to move their way up over here on the other side of the wall as well. So the AI is starting to balance out its troop load across the defensive portions of the wall, rather than just saying, yeah, well, I'm going to keep them here, and then if something attacks me from the side, I'm not going to do anything about it. Let's go ahead and press escape, let things kind of keep progressing there. I'm staying back here so I don't die, so we can kind of see how this goes. In fact, maybe I should just die so we can see. But you can see the ramp dropped when 3 people got up there, which is nice, which is really something I wanted, because it didn't make sense. 1 person would touch the top of the ramp and that thing would drop, and that guy would get slaughtered by a bunch of waiting soldiers. So You can see that this actually has a lot better use. They're going up in sets of 3. They're not coming down that ladder and running back towards the front gate, which they sometimes would do. And it's happening over there on the left one too. We did a whole stream where we tested all. Hey, man, don't shoot me. I'm trying to talk right now. Where we tested this, where we looked to see where do these things break, and it was the older maps where the pathfinding wasn't as updated that this would break. This is not the case anymore. I've tested this in a number of other maps and they seem to climb up even on, does not depend on the level. Sometimes if it was a second level or a first level, it would work better than maybe a third level. This is a tier 2 just because I wanted to test scaling on tier 2 for whatever reason. But you can see people are getting pushed off and falling because they're just so slammed up over there. But it is a proper like siege tower breach, right? They're trying to get in. There's no breach in the center wall, so this is it. Like, it's a make or break right now for my soldiers. And if I click 1, I can see that their morale is starting to wane. They're really not doing too well up there. So it's a much better siege system. Of course, you know, I do have my engines going to town over here, and I'd love for them to like break a hole in the wall. That would drastically change how this would work, right? Rather than my men getting butchered on the wall over there, they'll have an actual breach to jump into. But so far, I've loved what I've seen with the siege fixes. I've tested a number of maps and things all seem to work out very well, but I'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section below. This concludes our video here showing off all of version 1.7.0. I will hopefully be streaming it this weekend to just put it through its paces, show off some things. We can test whatever you guys want, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel and you'll be able to see when I go live. I'll probably be doing a giveaway of the game as well, because what the hell, it's Christmas, why not be a little charitable? But let's have some fun on that stream, probably live around 10:30, 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Saturday or Sunday. Gotta figure out which one I'm doing. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Hopefully you got a good idea now of what's live in 1.7.0, and you're going to be jumping back into the game because I'm going full bore. I've been waiting to redo a lot of my guides until a lot of stuff came in, so now I think we can start working through some of those guides again. Oh, did you see that whole pocket of troops that got hit by... got nailed by that onager. Oh my god. So go ahead and let me know in the comment section if there's any of my guides too that you want to see redone, and I'll be doing those. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.